Before we go on to part 2, I think you should take a look at part 1 if you haven't already, because that's going to be important. With that being said, where were we? It's a common rule in fighting games that if you are introduced in a later installment, there's a high likelihood that no one is going to give a crap about you. Case in point, Ashra. I mean, in the long run, do we really care about her quest to escape from hell? Likely not. But that doesn't stop her from having a really cool and really freaky fatality. Wow. Never have I seen voodoo dolls used in such a horrific way. This is like something Pinhead would do. Plus, there's also limbs falling off partway through it. So even though Ashra is a rather lame character, this fatality is quite a cool one. Now let's talk for a bit about the series' resident Miss fan service, Kitana. Seriously, how is it that Edenians look like they're in their mid-20s when they're really thousands of years old? Anyway, on to the topic at hand. When people think of Kitana, they usually think of this.
Kitana wins.
Yeah, this goes back to the lingering pain factor that I discussed with a couple fatalities in part 1. But this fatality brings up one question. Does this happen every time Kitana kisses someone? If so, well then Liu Kang, you may want to have some second thoughts about courting her. Mortal Kombat 4, the franchise's first step into 3D, actually has the lowest number of fatalities on this list. Main reason being, they just haven't aged well. Sure, it expanded the possibilities, but most of them look cheesy now due to the outdated graphics. Nevertheless, there are a couple fatalities from the game on this list, so here's one of them. Good God! Reptile going all Hannibal Lecter on you and chewing your face off and then leaving you to die with that look? I mean, that has got to be one of the most unpleasant things imaginable. This is a fatality that has most certainly passed the test of time. When it was first announced that Kratos was going to be in the PS3 version of Mortal Kombat 9, I had two things on my mind. The first being, so what, is Master Chief going to be in the Xbox 360 version? Second being, holy crap, that is awesome! And when I finally got a hold of the game, I was not disappointed. And in this fatality here, he most certainly lives up to the franchise that he's from. While this isn't as God of War-ish as I would have liked to see, this is still a really enjoyable fatality to look at. Letting their intestines fall out and then just plunging a giant crystal sword through them execution style. Back against the wall! Going back to what I said about Ashra, who here actually gives a crap about Husu Hao? I don't, but you know what I do give a crap about? His fatality. Now this isn't your regular laser death. Instead of deep frying the opponent, it actually cuts them in half. And they're still crawling on the floor. No, it's not just a flesh wound, you're dead. Now this is a great fatality, but I'm sure something that's on everyone's mind here is, are you going to quote the meme in some way, shape, or form? Yes, I am.
I'm a fire in my laser!
Looks like we have yet another double entry, with both fatalities in this case being from Mortal Kombat 9. Oh, and get this. The characters the fatalities are performed by are the series' resident cyber ninjas, Sektor and Cyrax. For the first fatality, we have Sektor pulling off this impossible feat.
Sektor wins.
I would question the logistics behind that, but then again, this is the same series that brought us this. And this. And this. Logic shouldn't have to play too much into it because this is still a really awesome looking fatality. And now for number 34, we have this. Yeah, this would be the real-life equivalent of putting somebody through a giant slap chop. If you're tired of your fatalities not being effective enough, check this out. One net, boom, falling to pieces. And now we're going back to the late installments clause. Hotaru is yet another character that pretty much no one gives a crap about. Well, that is until he snuck his way out of the Mortal Kombat universe and changed his name to Geralt. But you should probably see a formula by now. Lame character, awesome fatality.
Hotaru wins.
What, is Hotaru secretly a wrestler? Yeah, this one gets on here mostly by being just really badass looking. I mean, who wouldn't want to do this to the person who's been annoying them? This is for pestering me about that 20 bucks I owe you! Oh, you thought you saw the last of me? Far from it. Another common thread among this game is that when the fatalities aren't gory as hell, they're really flashy. Now, I've already mentioned one of Sektor's fatalities, but here's another one from Nightwolf. Oh yeah. Don't cry for this Indian, cause he's gonna send your sorry ass into oblivion in a massive pillar of energy. I always thought that Nightwolf was a rather bland character, but this fatality is anything but. Mortal Kombat 2 is the first game where the characters had 2 fatalities, but what they did with a few of the characters from the original game is that they had their first game's fatality as well as an original fatality. They were all good, with special mention going to... This wasn't the only fatality where people had the upper halves of their bodies removed, but this was by far the best. And it's one of the many reasons why you don't mess with Scorpion.